The spaceship drifted silently through the endless black of space, its hull glinting faintly under the distant light of a dying star. Inside, the hum of machinery was the only sound that broke the quiet, a low, constant reminder that life depended on careful precision and routine. For Lieutenant Alina Reyes, the silence was both comforting and nerve-wracking. She had always loved the emptiness of space, the way it demanded focus and rewarded attention. But today was different. Today, a single device rested in her hands, a machine whose success or failure could change everything. The translation device was no ordinary tool. It was humanity's greatest leap in understanding the unknown. Designed to interpret alien languages instantly, it could take any sound, gesture, or even subtle electromagnetic pulse and turn it into words humans could comprehend. The device was small, handheld, with smooth silver surfaces and a glowing interface. To the untrained eye, it looked like a toy, but Alina knew its power. This device had been tested against every known communication pattern, and yet she understood that no test could prepare her for the first contact with a species humanity had never met. Alina had been selected for this mission not only because of her linguistic expertise, but also because of her calm under pressure. Her ability to adapt when things went wrong had earned her the trust of the United Earth Space Command. She stood in the observation deck of the ship, staring at the alien vessel that hovered near a small, rocky planet. Its surface was dark, jagged, and hostile-looking, but it moved with a grace that spoke of intelligence. Her heartbeat quickened. This was it, the first real moment of contact. Her team was silent, each member lost in their own thoughts. Captain Renaud paced nearby, his eyes sharp and calculating. "Alina, we need a clear reading before we make any decisions." One wrong move and... He didn't finish. They all knew what could happen if they misread the situation. Even with advanced weapons, space battles were dangerous. Miscommunication could be worse. Alina activated the translation device, the interface lighting up with a soft blue glow. She adjusted the sensitivity and aimed it toward the alien ship, holding her breath. The first sounds reached her ears, high-pitched clicks and low hums, alien tones that made her skin tingle. The device began to process, translating the alien signals into something intelligible. Her eyes widened as words appeared on the screen. At first they seemed simple, almost mundane. We observe, we approach, we wish to communicate. Relief washed over her. Humanity was not in immediate danger. But then the device faltered. The blue glow flickered, stuttered, and dimmed. Alina's stomach sank. She tapped the interface, trying to reset it. Nothing happened. The alien signals continued, but now the device only returned jumbled phrases, disconnected words that made no sense. Warning, error. Collision, unknown. Alina's heart raced. The words were garbled, and she knew that any misinterpretation could trigger panic on either side. She looked at Captain Renaud, who had frozen mid-step, his expression tense. "Status?" he asked, voice tight. "It's failing," Alina admitted, her hand shaking slightly as she tried every protocol she had memorized. "The device—" "It can't translate them accurately." A silence fell over the room. The hum of machinery suddenly felt louder, pressing in on them. The alien ship hovered closer, its lights blinking in patterns that now seemed ominous rather than friendly. Alina could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on her. This was not a drill. This was not a simulation. Every decision, every second, counted. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath. Panic would do no good. The device was broken, but she still had her mind, her knowledge, and her instincts. She had studied countless languages, human and alien, and while she had relied on the device for efficiency, she could attempt manual translation if she acted carefully. She opened her eyes, determination hardening her features. "Captain," she said, "we can't rely on the device. I need to observe them, study their patterns, and communicate without it. It will take time, but it's the only way to prevent a disaster." Renaud nodded slowly, his trust in her evident. "Do it. We follow your lead." Alina stepped closer to the observation window. She studied the alien vessel, its movements deliberate, almost cautious. She noticed the rhythm of its lights, the way certain patterns repeated. She took notes, using the ship's recording system to capture everything. Each click, each pulse, each hesitation could be a clue to meaning. She recalled a principle from her linguistic studies. Understanding context was often more important than the exact words. If she could interpret intent, she might still succeed where the device had failed. Hours passed as Alina worked tirelessly. She mapped patterns, cross-referenced with known alien communication methods, and began to hypothesize meaning. The alien vessel seemed to respond to subtle changes in the human's behavior, slowing when humans paused, moving closer when they remained calm. Slowly, she began to piece together a basic understanding. The aliens were not hostile, but cautious. They were testing the humans, probing their intentions. The device had failed, but Alina's mind, sharp and patient, was now the key. As night, or what passed for night aboard the ship, fell, Alina finally allowed herself a small sigh of relief. She had created a rough translation framework, enough to communicate simple concepts. She practiced phrases, gestures, and signals that might convey their intentions without provoking fear. Her hands were sore, her eyes strained from hours of focus, but a spark of hope glimmered inside her. Humanity's survival depended on her ability to adapt, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she felt the surge of confidence that came from knowing she could rise to the challenge. Captain Renaud appeared behind her, his expression softer now.
"You've done well, Alina. The device failed, but you didn't. That's what counts."
Alina smiled faintly, though fatigue tugged at her. "It's not over yet. We're still at the mercy of their judgment. One mistake and—" She didn't finish. She didn't need to. They all understood the stakes. Suddenly, the alien vessel shifted, its lights blinking faster, more urgently. Alina's pulse quickened. Could it be a greeting? Or a warning? Her hand hovered over the console, ready to send a simple signal. Calm, peace, intent to communicate. The next moment would determine everything. Humanity had ventured far into the unknown, armed with the best technology, yet it was human judgment, courage, and adaptability that now stood between survival and catastrophe. She took a deep breath, steadied her shaking hands, and sent the signal. The ship responded instantly, its lights pulsing in a rhythm that she recognized from her careful observations. Slowly, deliberately, the alien vessel adjusted its position. It was working. Alina's rough translation, her instinct, had succeeded where the device had failed. Humanity had passed the first test, not through superior technology, but through the resilience and intelligence of one human mind. Hours later, as the alien vessel moved away to a nearby orbit, and the immediate tension eased, Alina allowed herself a moment to rest. She leaned against the observation window, staring at the small planet below, jagged and dark, yet filled with potential. Humanity had made a first connection in a world of unknown dangers. The device had failed, but she had not. And perhaps that was the most important lesson of all. No machine could replace the power of the human mind when it was focused, determined, and unyielding. Alina knew there would be more challenges, more misunderstandings, and more critical moments where failure could mean disaster. But for tonight, she allowed herself a quiet pride. She had faced the void, faced the unknown, and proven that human ingenuity could shine even in the darkest reaches of space. And somewhere deep inside, she felt the thrill of knowing that this was only the beginning. The alien vessel hovered closer to the planet now, its movements deliberate and precise. The crew aboard the human ship watched in tense silence, each person aware that one wrong signal could ignite a confrontation they might not survive. The translation device, still unreliable, blinked erratically in Alina's hands. She had learned not to trust it fully, relying instead on observation, intuition, and careful reasoning. Every detail mattered. The angle of the ship, the rhythm of its lights, the timing of its movements. Humans were fragile in space, but their minds could adapt in ways machines could not. Alina paced the observation deck, scanning the alien patterns she had recorded hours before. She replayed each sequence, noting subtle shifts in tone and pulse. "It's trying to understand our intentions," she said softly to herself, "but it doesn't trust us yet. We have to prove we're not a threat." She tapped on the console, sending a simple, slow-blinking signal toward the alien ship. The lights on the vessel paused, then returned in a gentle, synchronized pulse. The crew exhaled collectively. It was a small success, but in this vast emptiness, small victories meant survival. Captain Renaud joined her, leaning over her shoulder to watch the readings. "How confident are you that it understands us?" he asked. His voice was calm but held the tension of a commander who knew the stakes. "Confident enough to try more direct communication," Alina replied. "But the device is failing unpredictably. I can't rely on it to interpret complex messages. We have to think creatively." She looked at the blinking interface, frustration and determination mingling. "We're on our own now." The crew gathered in the control room, each member silently reviewing protocols and contingency plans. Lieutenant Vega, the ship's engineer, adjusted systems, keeping an eye on power fluctuations and shielding levels. Even in the quiet, there was a shared understanding. Humanity had survived because it could adapt, but now they were being tested in real time. Every decision could ripple outward, affecting not only their lives, but potentially the first impressions humanity would ever make on this alien species. Alina focused on the alien vessel again, studying how it moved in response to their signals. She noticed a pattern she hadn't seen before. When the human ship remained completely still, the alien ship would advance slightly, as if curious. When humans initiated a signal, it would hesitate, assessing the intent. This was critical information. "They're cautious, but not hostile," she said aloud. "And they respond to calm behavior rather than aggressive signals. That's how we communicate." The hours dragged on, and tension weighed heavily on the crew. The alien vessel had positioned itself over a plateau on the planet below, its lights flickering like distant stars. Alina realized that the true danger was not combat. It was misunderstanding. Any misstep could be interpreted as aggression. If they reacted out of fear, they could provoke hostility unintentionally. She had to find a way to bridge the gap without technology. Alina moved toward the console, her mind racing. "We need to show them we are peaceful, capable of thought, and cooperative," she said. She tapped into the ship's visual projection systems, displaying patterns and gestures designed to convey intelligence. Simple, deliberate movements meant to mirror what she had observed in the alien ship. It was a risky move. One wrong pattern and the aliens could misinterpret their intentions. But there was no other option. The alien vessel responded almost immediately. Its lights pulsed in ways that mirrored Alina's display. The subtle mimicry suggested understanding, and hope surged in her chest. "They're learning from us," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "They're interpreting our actions, not just our signals." Captain Renaud nodded, his expression unreadable, though his eyes betrayed relief. The crew had faced danger before, but this, direct contact with an unknown intelligence without the safety of reliable technology, was a trial of human skill and intuition alone. Night cycles passed. Though time and space was strange and fluid, Alina barely slept, consumed by her attempts to understand every nuance of the alien behavior. She recorded every pulse, every movement, every hesitation. Slowly, she began constructing a mental model, a framework for predicting the alien reactions. She shared her insights with the crew, and together they devised strategies to communicate more complex ideas. Simple concepts like cooperation, curiosity, and the desire to avoid harm. The tension reached a peak when the alien vessel suddenly moved away from the plateau and toward the human ship. The crew froze. Alina's heart raced. She analyzed the movement carefully. It wasn't aggressive, but deliberate. The alien was observing them more closely, testing responses. She instructed the crew to remain still, maintaining calm signals. Minutes stretched like hours, the silence only broken by the faint hum of the ship's engines. Then, almost imperceptibly, the alien ship's lights shifted. Alina leaned forward, straining to detect the pattern. It matched a sequence she had seen earlier, a rhythm that in her notes she had labeled curiosity. She realized the alien vessel was attempting to communicate back, slowly and cautiously. The breakthrough sent a shiver down her spine. Humanity was not only surviving this encounter, it was beginning to converse. Alina instructed the crew to mirror the pattern. Their lights blinked, slow and deliberate, matching the alien rhythm. Slowly, the alien vessel responded, its lights synchronizing with theirs in a delicate, careful exchange. The room erupted in quiet excitement. Captain Renaud finally allowed himself a small smile. "You're doing it," he said. They understand. But even as relief swept through them, Alina remained cautious. The alien vessel had not yet revealed its full intent. Every signal could be a test, every pause a question. She needed to maintain vigilance. The translation device, unreliable as ever, was still at her side, ready to assist if it decided to function. But for now, human intuition and observation were their greatest tools. As the hours went on, Alina's observations deepened. She noted subtle differences in brightness and timing, variations in angle and movement, which she interpreted as emotional cues. The aliens seemed to respond not only to the logic of their actions, but to their consistency and patience. Any abrupt change would cause hesitation, perhaps even alarm. Humanity's strength lay not in force, but in adaptability, intelligence, and calm persistence. Suddenly, the alien vessel made a rapid movement, veering sharply toward a crater on the planet's surface. The crew tensed. Alina studied the trajectory carefully. It wasn't aggressive, but exploratory. She realized the aliens were curious about the planet itself. She quickly instructed the ship's sensors to map the surface and project simplified terrain visuals to the alien vessel. The response was immediate. Lights pulsed in acknowledgement, then shifted in a pattern she interpreted as approval or understanding. It was the first clear sign of successful two-way communication. Captain Renaud leaned back, exhaling slowly. "We're making progress," he said. "Not because of the device, but because of your mind, Alina. You've shown them humans can think, adapt, and cooperate." Alina smiled faintly, though fatigue tugged at her. She knew this was only the beginning. The alien vessel remained a puzzle, each pattern a challenge to decode, each movement a potential question or test. The failure of the device had forced them into reliance on human skill, and in doing so, it revealed an unexpected truth. Machines could fail, but humans could improvise, learn, and succeed under pressure. As the planet below rotated slowly, casting long shadows across jagged mountains and cratered plains, Alina continued her careful work. She noted every pulse, every change, and began predicting sequences before they happened. The alien vessel moved in response, almost as if acknowledging her efforts. It was not a perfect conversation, but it was something far more meaningful. A silent understanding, a bridge built through patience and intelligence. In the observation deck, the crew gathered around her, each person watching, learning, and contributing. The device, still unreliable, was now almost secondary. Humanity's ingenuity had taken the lead. The lesson was clear. Technology was powerful, but it was human creativity, courage, and adaptability that truly ensured survival. Hours later, Alina allowed herself a brief rest. She leaned against the console, staring at the blinking lights of the alien vessel. They were no longer just signals. They were responses, deliberate and meaningful. Humanity had made its first mark, not through firepower, not through technology, but through the careful, relentless application of intelligence and empathy. The alien ship was learning about humans, just as humans were learning about it. Alina knew more tests were coming. The device might fail again. The aliens' intentions could shift, and the unknown was always dangerous. But for now, they had survived. Humanity had endured where machines had faltered, proving once again that even in the deepest voids of space, the human mind could shine brightest when challenged. And somewhere deep in her chest, Alina felt the thrill of potential, the realization that this encounter was only the first step toward a much larger journey. She turned to the crew, their faces tired but determined. "We're ready," she said. "No device, no shortcuts, just us. And that might be enough." The alien vessel pulsed in reply, and for the first time, it felt like more than a collection of lights. It felt like the beginning of a true understanding. Humanity was not alone, and despite the challenges, it had already proven itself worthy of being seen. The alien vessel had become more active, moving with purpose that suggested investigation rather than aggression. Alina Reyes stood at the observation window, her eyes scanning every pulse of light, every subtle change and trajectory. Hours of careful observation had taught her that the aliens responded not only to logic, but to human behavior itself. One sudden movement, one hasty signal, could unravel all progress. Her mind raced, thinking through every possible contingency, every scenario. The translation device, once a symbol of security, now sat silent on the console, its erratic glow a reminder that machines could not always be trusted. Captain Renault entered the observation deck, his expression grave. "We've analyzed the planetary readings," he said. "The region where the alien vessel is hovering has unusual electromagnetic activity. Any sudden interference could trigger defensive measures. We must proceed cautiously." Alina nodded, already aware of the implications. The alien technology was advanced, likely far beyond human comprehension, yet their behavior suggested intelligence and caution. It was a delicate balance. They were explorers, not conquerors, and the humans had to prove themselves worthy of trust. "Every movement counts," Alina murmured. "We need to show patience, consistency, and intent without aggression. Anything else could be misinterpreted." The crew worked silently, each person focused on their task. Lieutenant Vega monitored ship systems, ensuring that no unintended emissions disturbed the alien sensors. Communications Officer Lyra tracked the alien vessel's patterns, logging each pulse and movement. The observation deck was quiet, yet tension ran thick. Each second felt stretched, every flicker of the alien light scrutinized for meaning. Suddenly, the alien ship darted toward the human vessel. The movement was swift, precise, and alarming. Alina's stomach dropped. She analyzed the motion, noting the acceleration and angle. It wasn't attacking, but it was close enough to cause concern. "Hold your positions," she commanded. "Do not react until we understand its intent." The alien vessel hovered just outside the human ship's protective shield. Its lights pulsed in rapid sequences, more complex than before. Alina recognized patterns she had never seen, subtle shifts in brightness that suggested an advanced form of questioning or testing. She leaned over the console, manually recording each sequence, comparing it with her existing framework. Slowly a pattern emerged, an intricate puzzle of timing and repetition. "It's testing us," she said. "Every action we take, every pause we make, is under scrutiny. We need to respond carefully, deliberately, and predictably." Captain Renaud's eyes were sharp. "And if we fail?" he asked quietly. Alina hesitated. "Then we may provoke defensive action. But we will not fail. Humans adapt, we learn. And that," she gestured to the flickering alien lights, "that is our advantage." The crew followed her guidance, responding to the alien signals with deliberate precision. Lights blinked in slow, careful sequences, mirroring the aliens' pattern but simplified to prevent confusion. Minutes passed, each longer than the last, as the two species engaged in silent negotiation. Alina's heart raced. Every pulse was a question, every blink a test. The room was tense, yet focused. Suddenly, the alien vessel moved sharply away, then returned, this time positioning itself above a canyon on the planet's surface. Sensors indicated that the region contained strong energy readings. The crew watched nervously. If the readings indicated a natural phenomenon, the alien's interest made sense. If it indicated a potential weapon or defensive system, the humans could be in serious danger. Alina realized that understanding intent was now as important as translating signals. She instructed the crew to maintain calm, non-aggressive behavior while projecting signals of cooperation. The alien vessel responded almost immediately, its lights blinking in sequences that suggested recognition of human patterns. Slowly, a bridge of comprehension formed, fragile but unmistakable. Then, disaster nearly struck. A sudden surge in the planet's electromagnetic field caused interference. The alien lights flickered erratically, the translation device sparked weakly, and the human ship's shields reacted automatically. Alina's pulse surged.
"Stabilize the shields manually," she shouted.
Vega and Lyra worked frantically, bypassing automated systems to prevent the ship from overloading. The alien vessel reacted instantly, moving away from the planet's surface. Its lights pulsed in rapid sequences, a form of alarm or inquiry. Alina realized that the surge could have been interpreted as a threat. One misstep, one failed response, and the fragile understanding they had built could collapse. "Focus," Alina commanded, her voice calm but firm. "We are not victims of circumstance. We are humans. We adapt. We survive. Every second counts, and every decision matters." Her crew responded with precision. They synchronized the ship's movements with careful signals, adjusted the shields, and sent visual pulses toward the alien vessel to indicate no harm was intended. Slowly, the alien lights returned to their previous rhythm. Less frantic, more measured. Alina exhaled, relief washing over her. Humanity had survived the test, not through technology, but through instinct, observation, and courage. Hours turned into what felt like an eternity. Alina analyzed every interaction, noting how the alien vessel responded to different stimuli. It became clear that this species operated on logic, pattern recognition, and emotional cues derived from consistent behavior. Abrupt or unpredictable actions could trigger defensive responses. Humans, with their creativity and adaptability, had a unique advantage. They could learn, improvise, and respond in ways machines could not. The breakthrough came when Alina noticed a repeated sequence of pulses that appeared to correspond with specific movements of the human ship. She theorized that the aliens were testing comprehension of intent, not words. If she could respond with deliberate, consistent gestures, she could establish a rudimentary dialogue. She instructed the crew to project patterns carefully, timing movements with the alien pulses. The vessel responded, mirroring them in a slower, more deliberate rhythm. For the first time, Alina felt that true communication had begun. The exchange was imperfect, rudimentary, but meaningful. Humanity had demonstrated thought, patience, and cooperation. The aliens were observing, analyzing, and responding to behavior rather than just signals. Technology had failed, but human ingenuity had succeeded. Captain Renaud approached her.
"You've turned a failure into a triumph," he said quietly. "The device failed at the worst possible time, but your mind—"
"Your mind saved us?" Alina allowed herself a faint smile.
Fatigue tugged at her body, but exhilaration surged through her. This was what humanity could do when pushed to the edge. Machines were useful, but humans were irreplaceable. Adaptation, creativity, and courage were qualities no device could replicate. Suddenly, a new pattern emerged from the alien vessel. Its lights formed a sequence that suggested movement or instruction. Alina studied it carefully. It appeared to guide them toward a safe path over the planet's surface, avoiding the hazardous energy zones. This was unprecedented. The aliens were not only observing, they were offering cooperation, a silent acknowledgement of understanding. Alina shared her observations with the crew. "They trust us enough to guide us," she said. "We must follow carefully, but this is the first real sign of partnership." The human ship maneuvered according to the alien guidance, the crew responding in perfect coordination. The path was narrow, treacherous, and required constant attention. The planet's surface was uneven, jagged, and unpredictable, but the crew moved with precision, relying on observation and instinct rather than automation. The alien vessel hovered above, monitoring, reacting, and supporting, as if testing their competence and patience. For hours, the maneuver continued. Alina's body ached from concentration, her eyes strained from analyzing patterns. Yet every successful movement reinforced a profound truth. Humans were capable of extraordinary resilience when faced with uncertainty. Machines had failed, but the human mind had compensated, proving that intelligence, adaptability, and courage could overcome even the most dangerous unknowns. At last, the human ship cleared the hazardous zone. The alien vessel paused, its lights forming sequences that Alina interpreted as acknowledgement, possibly even respect. Captain Renaud exhaled, his shoulders relaxing for the first time since the encounter began. Alina sank into a chair, exhaustion mingled with exhilaration. She reviewed the events in her mind. The device had failed, nearly jeopardizing the mission. Yet, human observation, patience, and creativity had carried them through. She realized that technology could only extend human capability. It could not replace the essential qualities that made survival possible. Courage, intuition, and the ability to learn under pressure were humanity's true strengths. The alien vessel finally moved away from the planet's surface, hovering in a stable orbit. Its lights pulsed rhythmically, no longer urgent or testing, but steady and calm. Humanity had endured the trial. They had communicated without relying on a single device, proving their worth through thought, skill, and persistence.
Alina looked at her crew, their faces tired but shining with pride.
"This is only the beginning," she said. "We've survived the first challenge, but the universe is vast and full of tests. We adapt, we endure, and we learn." Captain Renaud nodded. "And the aliens?" he asked. "They understand us," Alina replied. "Not perfectly, but enough. That is the first step toward cooperation. Maybe even alliance. And it was all possible because humans can think, adapt, and act when machines fail. For a moment, the tension lifted. Humanity had faced near disaster and emerged stronger, not through weapons, not through technology, but through the timeless qualities that had defined them since the beginning: courage, ingenuity, and the relentless drive to survive and understand. As the human ship stabilized in orbit, Alina gazed at the alien vessel one last time before retreating to her quarters. She knew the next challenges would be greater, the stakes higher, and the unknown more daunting. But for now they had passed the most critical test of all. Humans could confront the unknown, improvise when systems failed, and find solutions through intelligence and willpower. They were resilient, adaptable, and resourceful, the true proof that humanity belonged among the stars. Alina allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The device had failed, the stakes had been high, and the challenge had seemed insurmountable. Yet here they were. Humanity had proven itself again, in the silence of space, under pressure that would have shattered lesser beings. The alien vessel pulsed softly, almost as if acknowledging their effort, and Alina realized that this encounter, fragile and imperfect, had created something profound. the first bridge of understanding between two very different intelligences, and humanity had crossed it with nothing but mind, courage, and determination. The alien vessel hovered silently above the jagged planet below, its lights pulsing slowly, deliberately. Inside the human ship, the atmosphere was tense, yet filled with cautious optimism. After the near disaster caused by the planetary electromagnetic surge, the crew had spent hours stabilizing their systems and maintaining careful communication with the alien vessel. Now, for the first time, there was a sense that something significant had shifted. Humanity was no longer merely reacting. They were beginning to understand, and perhaps even be understood. Alina Reyes stood at the observation window, her fingers brushing lightly against the cool surface. She had spent days analyzing patterns, anticipating reactions, and coordinating the crew's responses. The translation device lay dormant on the console, its intermittent flashes a reminder that while technology could assist, it could never replace the human mind. Every pulse from the alien vessel was a puzzle, and every correct response was a victory. "We need to take this further," Alina said softly, turning to Captain Renaud and the rest of the crew. "We've passed their tests, survived the challenges, and maintained consistency. Now it's time to establish true dialogue. If we do this right, we could create understanding on a scale humanity has never achieved." Renaud nodded, his gaze steady.
Do it, Lieutenant, but remember, we're still in unknown territory.
One misstep could undo everything. Alina nodded and moved to the console. She reviewed the alien sequences again, carefully translating the light pulses into patterns of meaning. Over days of observation, she had begun to notice correlations between certain sequences and probable emotions: curiosity, caution, even acknowledgement. It was still rudimentary, but enough to attempt a meaningful exchange. She projected a series of visual patterns and movements from the ship, synchronized with gentle pulses of light from the human interface. The alien vessel responded immediately, adjusting its position slightly and echoing some of the patterns. Alina's heart raced. This was more than observation. It was cooperation, a first step toward communication that relied not on faulty machines, but on mutual understanding and human intelligence. Vega and Lyra monitored the ship's systems, ready to intervene if anything went wrong, while the rest of the crew observed silently. Every gesture, every blink of the lights, every subtle shift in movement had meaning. Humanity was proving, without weapons or coercion, that it could operate with intelligence, patience, and creativity. Hours passed, and Alina refined the process. She discovered that certain sequences of light and movement could convey basic concepts: intent, safety, and willingness to cooperate. The alien vessel responded by adjusting its own pulses, forming patterns that suggested comprehension and even guidance. Slowly, the humans began to interpret these signals. They were receiving information about the planet, energy fields, and even potential resources. The aliens were not just observing. They were teaching, guiding, and offering partnership. "This is remarkable," Renaud said quietly. "We're learning from them without a word spoken, and they're learning from us in return." Alina allowed herself a brief smile. It's what humans do best. Machines fail, rules break down, systems glitch. But humans? Humans adapt. We observe, we learn, and we respond. And that is how we survive. The alien vessel then performed a maneuver that made the human crew tense instantly. It approached the planet's surface slowly, following the path they had cleared earlier. Its movements were precise and deliberate, almost ceremonial. Alina interpreted it as an invitation, a gesture of trust. Humanity had demonstrated competence and patience. Now the aliens were showing that they were willing to share more than observation. They were opening a path toward mutual understanding. Alina guided the ship carefully along the suggested trajectory, her hands steady despite fatigue. Every signal sent, every movement executed, had to match her understanding of the alien patterns. One error could trigger a defensive reaction. She kept a close eye on the alien lights, reading subtle changes, interpreting meanings that had no exact equivalent in human language. The process was painstaking, yet exhilarating. Humanity had survived a failure that could have cost them everything, and now, through ingenuity and persistence, they were forming a bridge to another intelligent species. As the human ship navigated the canyon and jagged terrain, the alien vessel pulsed more rapidly. Alina's mind raced, decoding the rhythm. She realized the aliens were highlighting features of the terrain that could be dangerous: the electromagnetic anomalies, unstable rock formations, and unusual magnetic fluctuations. The aliens were guiding them safely, acknowledging the humans' careful cooperation while protecting both parties. Humanity had earned trust, not through firepower or devices, but through patience, observation, and intelligence. When the ship finally reached a plateau, safe and stable, the alien vessel hovered above and pulsed in a slow, deliberate sequence. Alina interpreted this as the alien equivalent of a nod, a sign of respect. "We did it," she whispered, almost in disbelief. "They trust us." Renaud placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've shown them what humanity is capable of, Lieutenant. Not the device, not the ship, but you. All of you. Humans are remarkable." Alina felt a surge of pride, tempered by the knowledge that this was just the beginning. The universe was vast, full of dangers, and full of species they could not yet comprehend. But in this moment, humanity had passed its first true test. The alien vessel, a mystery just days ago, now communicated, guided, and acknowledged them. The lesson was undeniable. Humans were resilient, adaptable, and capable of brilliance when the stakes were highest. The crew gathered, sharing their findings and observations. Each person contributed insights that refined their understanding of the alien language. What had begun as a test of translation and patience evolved into a collaborative effort, combining the creativity and intelligence of humans with the guidance and responses of an alien species. It was more than survival. It was the beginning of a partnership. Hours turned into a full cycle, and the alien vessel finally retreated slightly, maintaining a stable orbit. The human ship remained on the plateau, system stable, crew alert but relieved. Alina reviewed the patterns once more, realizing they had established the foundation for meaningful communication. The aliens were capable of thought, guidance, and cooperation. Humans had proven that they were capable of adaptation, understanding, and resilience. Together, the two species had navigated danger, miscommunication, and uncertainty. For a moment, Alina allowed herself a private reflection. The translation device had failed at the worst time, threatening to undo all their work. But humans had prevailed. Observation, intuition, and courage had overcome malfunctioning technology and environmental hazards. It was a victory that relied on human skill rather than machines, a perfect illustration of HFY principles. Renaud joined her at the observation window. "Do you think they understand the extent of what we are capable of?" he asked. Alina considered carefully. "They understand some of it, yes. But more importantly, we've demonstrated that even when technology fails, humans adapt. We can solve problems, think creatively, and survive. That is what will make us respected in the galaxy. The device could never have done that for us. It took human ingenuity to earn their trust." The alien vessel pulsed one final sequence, seemingly acknowledging her words, though she knew it was more than that. It was recognition, respect, and perhaps even curiosity about what humans could achieve next. Alina felt a thrill she had never experienced before, the knowledge that humanity had proven itself in a universe full of unknowns. The crew rested briefly, catching sleep and recovering strength, but Alina remained at the console, studying the last patterns, refining their understanding. Humanity had taken the first step toward something greater. They had navigated a crisis, learned from observation, and built communication without a single functioning device. They had survived, learned, and thrived, not because of tools, but because of human qualities, intelligence, courage, creativity, and resilience. The alien vessel eventually moved into a higher orbit, signaling that the interaction was complete. For now. Alina allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. Humanity had faced the unknown, endured a failure, and emerged stronger. The lesson was clear. The universe was unpredictable, machines could fail, and danger was always near. But human determination and adaptability were the constants that could overcome any obstacle. As the stars stretched endlessly outside the observation window, Alina knew one thing with certainty. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. They were capable of great triumphs, not because of technology alone, but because of the qualities that define them: curiosity, intelligence, ingenuity, and unyielding courage. The aliens had been a test, and humanity had passed. The first bridge of understanding between two species had been built through thought, observation, and the relentless drive to survive and learn. Captain Renaud broke the silence.
"Prepare the ship for departure," he said. "We'll return to Earth, but this experience will guide every mission after."
"Humanity has proven itself today." Alina nodded, feeling the weight of their achievement.
"And we'll continue to prove it," she said. "Every challenge, every unknown, every failure that comes our way, we will adapt, we will learn, and we will survive."
That is who we are. As the human ship prepared to leave orbit, Alina looked back one last time at the alien vessel, its lights pulsing calmly in the darkness. It was no longer a threat or a mystery. It was a partner, a witness to what humanity could achieve when tested. She allowed herself a small smile. Technology could fail, disasters could occur, and mistakes could happen. But humanity's mind, heart, and courage had carried them through. And in that moment, she knew that humanity's greatest power was itself. The ship glided smoothly away from the planet, leaving the alien vessel behind, but not the lessons they had learned. Humanity had survived. Humanity had adapted. Humanity had triumphed. And the universe had noticed. For Alina Reyes and her crew, the journey was far from over. But they carried with them the proof that even in the deepest reaches of space, humans could shine brightest when challenged, a truth that no device, weapon, or technology could ever replicate.